Hey everyone, and welcome to Functional Meatheads. I'm Mark DeSalvo.
It's so moist.
You know we're rolling, Froy.
I know, and I'm Braylon Sanchez. Intro, bro. It's so moist.
I know. Well, the
You know
people
what we should do
here.
is we should record other famous people saying doing our intro.
That's true. That would be actually pretty funny,
Joe
actually.
Rogan saying it's so moist.
Yeah. Anytime we meet someone, just be like, can you just say it's so moist for us?
The brain is nothing to mess around with or whatever.
Yeah, all that good stuff. But thanks for joining us for another episode of Functional Meatheads. Today, Froy and I have a pretty cool topic, one that we've been making a lot of jokes about, especially as it relates to probiotics and different ways to administer them. Food and pills are not the only way, folks.
Well, really, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah,
But
it's great.
we'll get to that in we'll get that to that in a minute. But I'm sure Froy's dying to talk about football season since it's
Yeah,
back. So
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm kind of what am I? I think a lot of people are over football. I think you have the diehard fans and they just don't change, so they're kind of like, boring people. Like
yeah,
I've never met an interesting football fan.
like an interesting hardcore football fan.
Yeah, like somebody like I could sit and talk to for anything other than football. You know what I mean? Like an interesting, well-rounded football person. You know?
Interesting. I don't
I
know.
feel like I feel like it's easy to. It's football is just like the weather. If I'm stuck with at a conversation point and somebody likes football, I can talk to them about it. But I'm not innovating any sort of deep sort of conversation. It's just like something you can kind of get over with. I don't know. Maybe it's just because of moving to New York. I think people are like in New York are just like sometimes you'll meet a football fan and sometimes you won't.
Oh,
And
dude, I meet just as
usually,
many. I meet
and
just
usually
as
they're
many.
not from New York.
I meet just as many football fans here as anywhere else.
Really, I wonder if
Oh
it's a
yeah.
generational thing.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I mean, I come from Western Pennsylvania where it's required to like football, so it's a little different there. But you know, people out here though, I mean, Giants fans and Jets fans are as hardcore as they come. They have their own nuances, but you
I mean,
know,
they're all the same person though.
yeah, generally. But what teams fans
Like
aren't,
you
I
meet one
guess.
Giants fan, you met them all.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
I feel that way about every team though.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I just think New York fans are a little bit. I don't know, man. New York's a weird thing because it's like so highbrow that most people here that have a lot of money don't give a shit about sports other than the athletes.
Yeah, and you know, there is something to that because a lot of people in this city are very what would you call
Elitist.
it?
Elitist.
Well, no, they're just it's kind of like I mean, I guess there's some things about it. See, I don't find this city as negatively elite as I know you do.
Oh,
Like I
it's
feel
not.
like I've lived a lot of places and everyone's kind of par for the course as far as I'm concerned. The only thing that skews it here is that there's a lot more people here. You know what I mean? Like I feel like the ratios are the same in New York and Memphis. It's just that there's more people here, you know?
Well, population density. I don't know. I think you think whenever I skew elitism, you think I mean it negatively. I just think it's inherent and contextual. You have so many people that go to Harvard, all these Ivy League schools that even though they don't walk around with a badge that says elitism, the fact that they're foodies, the fact that they're into fashion, the fact that they travel to exotic places, regardless of whether they announce it or not, they are an elite percentage of the United States of America.
Oh yeah. Well, if you mean it
I
like
don't mean
that,
like I
then
don't mean like they walk around going I'm better than you. I just think like contextually, you guys are bred and you've been educated yourselves to be these people, and that's what it is. And I don't like they don't. I don't mean that they're bad people. I just mean that given the population of the U.S. and the median average, all that other stuff, we live in a city with a lot of rich people and a lot of affluent people and a lot of highly educated people.
oh yeah, definitely. No,
They are
that's
not only are they the elite, just because they live in Manhattan and make money, but they are the elite because they went to the elite schools. They hung out with all this other stuff. So it's a label, and it's sad that it's a label, but I don't mean it in a negative way. Because I'm not saying that they can't be good people.
yeah. No, I mean, I I agree with that analysis for the most part, and it bleeds into sports because there is that sort of attitude amongst like the diehard Yankee fans that they're just expected to win, you know?
Yeah.
It's
I
just
think I
supposed.
think being a sports fan here, if you're not talking about the elite, it's just inbred. It's just like any other place. It could be like you said, it could be Pittsburgh. But if one of the elite here, I think it's more ironic. You're doing it out of irony, like the Brooklyn Nets shirts, all that stuff. When they
Yeah.
changed the logo, everybody had a T-shirt. Everybody, hipsters like crazy were wearing that stuff.
Yeah, it's funny how that
And I
marketing
was like,
campaign.
really? Wow, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's interesting. And now that arena's having money problems allegedly.
Really?
Yeah,
Well,
there's a lot
pretty
of
bad.
articles.
I was there we were there on Saturday, and I was telling my friend, I'm like, this place sucks because I never know what's coming up, and I never know what's here that night.
Yeah,
No, go ahead.
it's actually a really nice arena. It's
Yeah,
actually
it's dope, but they don't do a good job of like what's going on here tonight. I never know what's going on.
right, right. Yeah. I mean, the problems they're having are more that they've kind of become for concerts at least, you kind of have your different levels. You have the people that play bars, you have the people that play theaters, then you have the
Oh
people
yeah,
that play like the large venues. But then after that, after like those like 2,000 to 3,000 person venues, there's really no jump except for Madison Square Gardens or Staples Centers or
yeah.
whatever, what have you. Well, Barclays was trying to allegedly step in and be that intermediary that even though they have a capacity of 20,000 or whatever an indoor arena like that is, they were trying to be friendly to the betweeners, like to the you're not going to do Madison Square Garden obviously, but you're bigger than 3,000 seats. So and I don't think that plan is working out. I have that intel comes from people I know back in the music industry, and
That's interesting.
and the other thing is too is that the other problem I guess they're having is I don't know that the Nets are selling the way they thought they would. So that people are
Well,
really
I think
turning up.
they deserve that bullshit with the Jay-Z bullshit. I
Yeah.
hated that. That was such bullshit. In fact, I think they should all be sued because of that.
Well, he ended up selling his share in the team anyway.
Yeah,
What do you?
0.05, but the fact that they hyped it up that he's an owner, he's this, he's that.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought that was like how is this such an obvious scam,
People bought it.
It's weird. I don't like it. I just felt like it wasn't honest and it was a complete ploy and it was a sad ploy.
Yeah. It was it's a little it's strange. I don't know. I mean, that area, I mean, I remember it before Barclays was there, and I always liked that area. It definitely changed things because it put a lot of things out of business because people started charging crazy rent, and that's unfortunate. But
Well, that area is nice now.
yeah,
It's only gonna get more blown up. It's gonna be gentrified soon, very very
it
soon.
always
That area,
was nice, but now it's like getting the name brand like treatment. You know what I mean? Like the
well,
Buffalo
it's a
Wild
different
Wings.
Barclays Center there.
Yeah,
Change. Like it's all like high end, like niche food,
yeah, yeah, exactly.
which I don't mind because one of my favorite places to eat is right there. So
Yeah, yeah, right.
yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting how these things happen. I couldn't
But
even
there's
bait you into.
back to sports, football.
I couldn't.
Well,
Yeah, I was gonna say I couldn't even bait you talking about sports.
nah, I'm happy. I mean, I'm happy, but to be honest with you, I was not thrilled by any of the games this weekend, and I found the college games to be a bit more exciting.
Yeah, I don't know. Without getting into the politics of the whole Ray Rice thing, between that and just the way the NFL trots around these past few years, it is harder for me to get into it now. And
It's kind of a joke that they're a non-profit, and how much does Goodell make a year? 20 million.
yeah, I think it's closer to 30, but I don't know off the top of my head.
And all they do, and all he does, and obviously do more research on your part, but all he does is they consider it a good job if everybody makes more money. Not
Right.
if he's solving any big problems of like, okay, salaries are going out of control, CTE, like, you know what I mean? They're not. He's not making. He's making money, but he's not making the league better. If you know what I mean?
Right. Well, here, his salary
The
for
figurehead and the owners run everything.
you were off by half, Roy. He was 44.2 million in
Jeez.
2012. Yeah,
What?
44.2 million in 2012 as per his tax return.
Are you fucking kidding me, dude?
That's insane.
And they're a non-profit organization.
Yeah. Well, yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, the teams aren't, and the players are still taxed, and whatnot.
Wow,
But yeah,
that is insanity, man.
yeah, that's part of it. The whole. Yeah, I don't even want to get into it. I'd rather get into our positivity.
All right, do it, man, do it. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, it's a weird thing. Like, look at CrossFit. Like, they're trying to make it a sport. There's other sports coming out that are similar. There's one called the Grid that's going to come out. It's going to be televised.
Hmm.
Uh, so, okay, so you have something that's not a sport, CrossFit, that's actually trying to be a sport. That's a little bit more pure and a little bit more real, but they don't make as much money. And then you have something that's a sport, but that's just completely bonkers and insane now.
Right, right.
I just feel like everything's when you're looking at the game and something's bigger than the game, like Ray Rice or a Harbaugh. Like they've done well in marketing everything. Harbaugh versus Harbaugh. So you're
Yeah.
watching the game and there's so many things that are bigger than the game, or at least like you know you're watching. What game was it last night? The last game, Giants and Detroit, and then everybody's just waiting to see the Harbaugh press conference.
Right.
So in a way, like the marketing of the NFL has kind of is going to bite in its ass.
Yeah, it's exactly. Well, that's the thing is like the what I've been saying, like my stance on this, I don't know if I've talked about it on the show before, but when you have a when you have a company like the NFL and the exact revenue of last year, their gross revenue.
Billions, right? It has to be
All right.
probably hundreds of millions.
CBS, Fox, NBC, and ESPN provide the NFL with a total of about 5 to 6 billion annually just from contracts.
Okay, that's nothing. That's
And
that's
then research predicts that such media rights revenues could reach 17 billion. Anyway,
Jesus. They're in
any,
the
there's an article in Forbes that they want to take aim at being a $25 billion company, and this proves my point. Um, the the NFL, like I don't know how many years ago, not even 10, not even a decade ago, was a $4 to $5 excuse me, dollar company. I think in 2012, yeah, 10 billion. In less than in about 6 7 years, they doubled basically their revenue. It's like a virus. The point of a company is to keep growing. It's to keep growing. That's all they care about. Like you just said, did he make us more money? Did he make us more money? And that's why I think that you have all of this legislation of morality by Goodell and his crazy the way he suspends people, the way that they lay down rules are to try to appeal to crowds that don't really inherently love football. Like you're having to convert them because say you were drawing a chart and the first billion is hardcore fans and then the second billion that you make is bringing in high school fans and then the 3 to 5 billion is all people who used to play football. And then, but once you start getting past 6, 7, 8 billion, like you're gonna have to go to new markets. You're gonna have to like convert new people. That bacteria has to infect new people. That's what drives the way they behave, and that's why, like in a big way, it's fun to see this Ray Rice bullshit. Like, not that it's fun that he did what he did. It's terrible, but they have to now live with the decisions they've made in order to do that, and they have to squirm over the fact that it looks like they hit it, in order
yeah.
in
I
order to
think that,
make themselves look better to get to that 25 billion mark.
well, does that mean Goodell has to be a sacrificial lamb?
I mean, yeah, if it depends what you I mean from a justice standpoint, yes, because he's the one in charge, and from their shallow standpoint of trying to maintain image, yes. I mean, I don't see any way I don't know. Who knows? But
Uh,
the owners are very reluctant to fire the commissioner often, you know?
well, I don't think anything's gonna happen. I think what they
I don't
did
think so.
was, I don't know. Anyway, you're right. Let's switch subjects because it's just retarded. It's just not gonna work out really well.
Yeah, yeah. But
It'll be
anyway,
interesting. It'll be interesting. Let's go to the iWatch. That's more important. Did you check it out?
I did. I think it's pretty cool. I don't
Let me
think
get
there's a
this.
hell of a lot of technology in it that's not out there already, and it looks cool. But I don't know. It's still my stance still stands of what we've said in the past about Fitbits and stuff.
Oh yeah, you should be your own Fitbit. That's the number one fact.
Yeah,
But like you said, we want this to be a bridge to people to understand their own bodies.
right. I think that really what it is expensive automation to like remind you to get up, for instance. You know what I mean? Like in other words, they have that app. If you did you watch their propaganda video? Like it's going to remind you to make sure you stand up for 1 minute at least every hour. I was like, wow, that's a really low bar. You know?
Well, the 10,000 steps is a low bar. Like everybody in New York walks 10,000 steps.
Yeah.
You know, but what about adaptation?
Right. Right.
What are you supposed to do? Yeah, like you said, we've always had this argument from eternity. You can't effectively bridge that technology, and I think right now the best way to effectively bridge technology and health is for athletes. Because that will give them the extra inch. You can quantify that
Yeah,
extra.
you took the words out of my mouth. That's exactly what I was going to
Yeah.
say.
And now they're trying to say like, well, what about Joe Schmo down the street who doesn't stand up every hour? Okay, well, we're going to start off with this. But
Well,
but it doesn't lend itself to saying like, hey, dude, you're killing yourself. If you sit for 9 hours a day, you're gonna die.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
no
definitely.
real marketing for that other than, oh wow, I have diabetes now. What am I gonna do?
Well, they're trying. That the funny thing is they're trying to market it. There was, if you watch the official Apple commercial, there was heavy power of suggestion that we sit too much and it's killing us, and that's why they came up with this sitting alarm. So it's going to sense that you're sitting and that you need to get
Wow,
up.
it's so weird. It's so
Yeah,
weird.
yeah.
But it's
So in
cool.
other words, they're kind of playing off of that, you know?
It looks cool. I'll probably get the sport model.
Yeah.
I like the pay options that they have. It's kind of cool.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't know. It's really expensive though, from what I heard.
350, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
350, especially considering you're going to have to get the. So it's either like it's going to be interesting because either people are going to stay with their iPhone 5S and just get the watch.
Hmm.
It's going to be an interesting marketing, not marketing, interesting consumer. I'm interested to see. The stock didn't do too well afterwards, so we'll see.
Yeah, I'm not convinced. I think that the technology I think there's a lot of I think that the whole technology thing in a way that kind of is kosher with what you and I often talk about. I think that it's possible. Like I think that there's ways that you could adapt it for the Joe Schmo. I don't have the answer, but I get a gut feeling that there's certain things you can do, and I still think this thing probably will fall short. Only because like it does, like I said, it's not really innovating in that respect, you know. Um,
Yeah,
and I said to someone I
I
work
think
with too,
I think it's innovating in design. It looks sexy. Hell, it looks sexy as hell.
I think the Motorola one that they introduced last week looked nicer, to be honest with you. But
Did it come out?
the problem with the Motorola one is you can only use it with their phones, so it's like no one's gonna use it, you know.
Oh, I thought it hadn't come out yet. The Moto 360?
Yeah, I'm not a. Yeah, they did an announcement. I think it was last Friday.
Oh, I missed it. That's really bad. That's really bad.
Yeah, right. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not complaining about the design. I thought it would look better. I kind of expect more out of Apple. I think they look cool, but they're not. I don't know. It's not. I just don't think it's there yet. But I think it's important, I guess, to get it out there. But maybe I'll eat my words. Maybe when this thing comes out next year, I'll be uh I'll be
Eat it.
eating it.
Eat it.
Eat it. Let me talk about a project.
Yes, please. Let's go to a real project.
Yeah, let's get out of here. I should edit out that first part of the NFL talk
Yeah.
later. But so I injured my ribs a few weeks ago. At least what I think is my ribs, which has been diagnosed by doctors as probably just some kind of rib strain officially. That's very vague, I know. It's almost like in the NFL when they say he has an elbow. I always love that. They're like they don't even say injury. He's got an elbow. But so anyway, I had this rib injury and I have not been myself since. I alluded to it on the podcast last week that I wasn't. I got a fever one day. I had to go to the hospital, or not hospital, the doctor, and just figure out what's what. Make sure I wasn't like internally bleeding because when you have abdominal pain and a fever, sometimes that, and it's specific to a certain region that there's organs, that could rupture or be hurt, like serious stuff. Anyway, you know, it's rib injuries are weird, and that's what I'm learning. And the longer I have this, the more I really feel like it probably is a rib injury. But uh, I kind of took it upon myself to just really go as low inflammatory as possible because it seems like with rib pain it can radiate. It moves around. It starts in one spot and by the end of the day it's bothering you in another. You wake up the next morning, feel pretty good. By lunchtime it's the same thing. It's like it just kind of it goes in a path and then ends in a certain place at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, in my head of paranoia, I kept thinking to myself, like, is this, like, what is this? Is this really something going on in my gut? Is this related more to, is this more physical? Is this more like superficial? I mean, like, is this more muscular? But, I've been someone who's used my body my whole life, so I have a pretty good sense of what's muscular and what's not. So I just say to I was thinking to myself, I feel like this is something internal. I mean, to give you the cliff notes of it all, I'm not. I don't know if I think that anymore, but that's what led me on my current path to take up like these super low inflammatory diets, these like gaps and walls type protocol that Freud often talks about, and just kind of say, all right, if it is something internal, I I have to make sure I have to do my due diligence to make sure if it is like I'm nipping it in the bud. So I'm way too new onto it to
You there? You
yeah, can
there?
you, yeah, I'm here.
Okay. You cut out for a little bit. Sorry.
Interesting. I wonder if the internet connection went out. But I'm just way too. I'm only about 3.5 days in now to a what do you call it? A GAPS type protocol, and it's definitely helped my stomach and my gut and my overall feeling of vitality, like feeling good in that sense. In that sense, the GAPS protocol and whatnot, those things aren't any joke, definitely not. But the it's I'm still having the rib thing though. Like it was better. It was good for a few days.
Oh, so you've actually refelt something again?
Well, today I did because it was interesting because it was gone for a few days, and so I started to move a little. I picked up some bands. I picked up the lacrosse ball. I didn't want to like necessarily foam roll yet because I didn't want to like hold myself up because if you could picture someone like on gymnastics rings, like if you think about it in a way, that's what you're holding up your body, although it's much more stable because it's the floor. But that engages that region of your ribs where I have the injury, and so I've been I took it light, but uh, I started moving a little bit more. And on Saturday, I took just a brief little bike ride. Well, not brief, but it wasn't strenuous. I'll put it that way. And the next morning, woke up with some irritation. Didn't feel so great, but definitely not to the degree of the portion where it was as bad as it was, like in the previous weeks. Anyway, then I wake up the next day, I feel pretty good. I wake up the next day, I feel good again. So that's now two days strung along of feeling good. Wake up the third day, I go over I go over to the gym just to go see if I could handle doing just some body weight squats. Just move around a little bit, do a little hip opener or two, um, and that felt great. I did some of the I don't think we've ever talked about them before, but Froy and I are real familiar with them. Like all the different, you know, forward neck type of exercises you do up on the wall. You know, all those wall angels, those videos that you give a lot of our clients. Anyway, I did a lot of those. It felt great, and I said, "Wow." I mean, maybe the key here is uh, keeping blood in it. You know, keeping heat, keeping moving, and I had a heat pad too that I was putting on. You know, a couple times a day, and that was helping too. So then this morning, I go back. I woke up, went over to the gym, and I just did the same thing. I went back to just kind of repeat what I did. Just go up, do some of those therapy-oriented exercises, and use the bands a little bit. I even picked up just a barbell with no weight, just to give myself the orientation of just doing a few things, just seeing what movements still felt contraindicated or might not be advisable. And overall, I felt pretty good. I could definitely feel my limits. I definitely could tell I had some knots develop kind of on that left lat that I'm going to have to work out. Um, and and that was kind of it. Felt pretty good when I left, but then today, I don't know if it's just because I was real tired today or the weather, how dreary it is, and whatnot, but it started flaring up again. But it flared up in a way that felt very muscular. And considering I've been very clean on the diet and have felt very clear-headed, low inflammation, no issues, no
3 days though.
what was that? Yeah. Even though, but still, 3 days you can really even out a lot. It's not going to heal you if you have a fucked up gut, but
Yeah, but you have broken patterns is what I'm thinking, because once you got that pain, your body started learning, I don't want to get that pain, so it started learning compensations.
exactly, that's a problem.
So, like, I'm reading an article right now as you're talking. I looked something up because I figured fighters would have a lot more experience in this. You probably should be able to find some jiu-jitsu forums that could point you in the right direction about healing these, or maybe your coach and everything else. Because I'm sure this doesn't happen, but this guy's saying, he's talking about broken ribs, and he says the pain subsides, check with your doc first, but up to that point, work on pain reduction. Number one, work on the pain reduction, which is what you're doing by eating good non-inflammatory foods. Reducing the accessory muscle breathing patterns that will likely show up, and associated muscle tone in upper chest, back, and neck. So, how's your breathing been? Your deep breathing, like, because he seems to believe breathing patterns will change because of an injury in the ribs, no matter what.
It definitely does. It has for sure. And I
Yeah.
have to be conscious to breathe deep. But the problem is that if it's painful, I can't. But like nights like last night, I was doing all kinds of deep breathing and felt fine.
Good. Because he's saying that it's pretty interesting. It's a good way to think about it. A little bit of a side topic, but same similar issue. Okay, so without proper chest expansion, we lose thoracic spinal extension, which we know. That's why we do lacrosse ball, all that other stuff.
I'm already having thoracic spine pain, so
Yeah, so he's like, if you think about the sternum as a pump handle from one of those old school water pumps, as the handle comes up, our thoracic spines have to extend, creating a mini joint mobilization every single time. Once thoracic spine mobility decreases, you can say hello to neck pain, shoulder pain, and even more back pain. So back onto the thing. So he says pain reduction, reducing the accessory muscle breathing patterns that will likely show up. Number 3 is repattern faulty breathing once pain has subsided. The sooner this can be done, the better. And then number 4, reestablish proper strunk type stabilization. So that's the thing, is like you're doing part 1 good. You're reducing all the other factors that can lead. You're basically you're becoming Wolverine. You're letting your body heal as fast as possible by not putting any junk in there. But yeah, the breathing patterns, you have to be really good with your breathing patterns, and then trunk stabilization afterwards, because little micro movement. Think about on a smaller scale. Yeah, I hurt my knee if I extend or flex or extend my knee. It's obvious it's gonna hurt. But let's say there's the beginnings of a small little tear in my meniscus, right?
right.
But I don't see it yet. So I'm gonna do more damage in that little gap between than ever before in a way.
Mm-hmm.
You hit a tricky one. Like it's a tricky little muscle that you're dealing with. I would, if I were you, I would just look into some jiu-jitsu websites or forums or something and see if anybody has any issue or any recommendations dealing with it. I'm sure you should find something. You can't tell
I
this doesn't happen a
started
lot in jiu-jitsu.
I started with one forum, and most people who had it that responded to me, they had something more sternum based.
Yeah.
There's a condition called costochondritis, I think is how you say it, and it's basically it's like an inflammation of like the rib or the cartilage that like connect to the rib, and
Uh-huh.
it usually strikes from like what I was researching and the people who post on forums, people who work out too much and do too much like chest exercise or and do like too much too soon, like they were undertrained before going into intense activity, or it strikes like jujitsu guys, like martial artists. But mine is like very far removed from there because I even responded to a few guys and was like, well, where's your pain? And they all said around the sternum, like above the nipple or at nipple level at the sternum. And for me, it's like at the bottom of the left side of the rib cage, and I can just tell today from probably doing too much movement, which wasn't even much, which is very telling.
Would that
Uh,
be somewhere like if somebody's on side has you in side control or something? Would that be where somebody's knees would hit your rib if they were their knees were on that side?
they could. I mean, it's not outside of the realm of possibilities. Yeah.
You
I
think
mean,
it's that? You think that's what it was?
you know, I'm sure there could be some wear and tear, but like I said, I can't remember a moment when I just got hit there and was like, "Fuck, that hurt," you know? But if you do get knees there, you're always gonna get there's a position of dominance in jiu-jitsu that's they just call knee on belly, where you're basically driving your knee on their belly, you know, because if for them to push up on you creates pain for them. So
Hmm. That's interesting. It's such an interesting dynamic because one of the things that what the periodization book says is like train flexibility, train the tendons and the joints before you train the muscles. But do you think that they did a good job of like rib and do they check your breathing or anything? Do they check your obliques and do they check any sort of issues? Or if I just went in there and said, hey, do they give you any sort of assessment when you go into take a jiu-jitsu class?
they don't if you're a first timer like brand new, they're not going to let you in the class your first two times. They're going to make sure they're going to either teach you or make sure you know how to front roll, back roll. They're going to make sure that you have like certain motor skills. That they don't check your breathing, but
Do they check to see if I can touch my toes? Is there any sort of personal training, physical assessment?
nothing like that. No.
I wonder if it would benefit from such a thing. It just seems like you touch your toes. No, all right, let's go do some jujitsu. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, if they
But maybe you can't do that. If you can do a front roll, you could probably touch your toes. And they'll
right.
know.
Yeah, like that's the thing is like I when they were working with me, I had pretty good flexibility, but I have to imagine that if you're having problems with the front roll, they're gonna, dissect it and be like, "All right, can you do this? Let me do
Uh,
this. Now do this." Because I've seen them do that with people, like people who are struggling with like a back roll. They're like, "Okay, well, do you know how to do this? Okay, let's practice just this." So, but yeah. I mean, that's kind of like not in their scope, so I sort of understand that. But
did they? Okay, so where did we leave off? So you basically to be non-inflamed.
so the big question for me for a while was, was this because it was such a strange thing because I could still go and do activity even with the pain. It wasn't crippling. So it made me wonder. I was like, wow, did I like eat something that's like messing up my intestines or stomach? Like, do I have something bad in me or is this muscular? Like I couldn't quite tell. And after this morning, I'm more convinced that it really is muscular because of the way my body is kind of inflamed up a little bit and kind of set forth those mechanisms to protect itself.
Yeah.
So I'm inclined to think that it is something uh, more muscular. However, you still would want to treat it as if it was something internal too by eating a
Well, yeah,
low
you're
inflammatory.
reducing all the other variables by eating properly. But I would
Yeah,
just figure out, okay, what movements are acute? What movements actually make it worse?
definitely like you have to be very careful when you hip hinge, that's for sure.
Yeah. Catching a Starrett video on that. How about broken T spine or just that extra curve in the back? And he was saying the secret to that is external rotation before. Lock that in, get your deep external rotators locked in, and you'll have less of a break, less of that broken spine action.
Yeah, I'm gonna need whenever this thing finally heals, I'm gonna need a lot of that because it's amazing what barely 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks will do to you. Like someone like me who constantly, I do more in the past 3 months. I've done more for my mobility and flexibility than I do for my strength training or was doing, you know?
Wow.
And
Yeah.
that's why this is especially hard for me because I don't know what I should or shouldn't be doing with my like flexibility routine. Like right now, I'm just doing nothing. I'll go for walks. You know, that's it.
I mean, if I were you, I would just meditate, keep doing your meditation, and then breathe deep, deep breaths to make sure that pattern doesn't change. Because you could possibly be doing nothing wrong, and your breathing is the only thing that's changing, and that will stop you from healing right. You know.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes breathing is more bothersome than others. That's the other thing, you know.
I agree, dude. I agree. That's tough.
Yeah. It's a
Tough. I still think you guys in secretly like find some jujitsu people that I'm sure somebody's had this before. It can't be like a new thing, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I might even go in there one of these mornings, not to train, but just to go talk to them, you know, and hang out.
Yeah. Just be like, look what you guys did to me.
Yeah, look what you did. What did you do?
This would be intense.
Anyway, this is going to be a part thing. Freud's talked at length about the GAPS diet too. I mean, now that I'm on it, I can give you a full report in the coming weeks. So,
So what did you start with the bone broth?
yeah, bone. You know, it's funny because the way it is not so different from how I eat on a good day. You know,
Uh,
because I eat a lot of eggs. I eat a lot of vegetables with the eggs,
yeah.
and so I've just been doing eggs and vegetables. And the bone broth. I'm going
I
to
liked,
turn the
I liked it. I just got lazy and I haven't done it in a while.
yeah. You know what it is? It's funny. It's actually really easy to do. I find it easy to do.
Oh
Maybe
yeah,
it's because I'm
all you
weird.
need is the time. You just need the time.
Yeah, I mean the bone broth is the most time consuming, but if you just make it like last night I made it when I got home from work. I knew it would be done by the time I went to bed. I tried it out a little bit before I went to bed. It was delicious. Put it in the fridge this morning, heat some up, you know.
You have to be careful when heating up because if you heat the fat up too much, it'll never cool off. It's just like a protective coating of heat.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. I took a lot of the fat out, and I'm gonna re-add it when I heat it up individually. You know,
Oh, okay. I
I
kept it
put it like,
together and I just broke it off because the fat. I care more about the fat than the broth.
yeah, that's what you want too. I mean, definitely. That's why I saved it.
And you can use the fat to cook your beef in. So get some grass-fed beef and cook it in that, and you're gonna be like, "Wow, it's fantastic."
Yeah, that's why. That's another thing. That's a good idea. I didn't think of that. But yeah, I took all that fat from when it was in the fridge and the marrow, and put it in a separate container. Um, it's good stuff, especially for primal idiots like me who love that kind of food.
I used to like it as a snack in between. Like I would take a thermos with me, have my eggs and everything, and then put a snack, and then use that as a snack in between to carry me over. It's not much, but I like just thinking that it's feeding my, my enterocyte, the the bacteria that's on the inside of my, intestines and stuff. So it's a good
Yeah.
little experiment. I like it, and there's so many different ways to do it. But I did it very basic. I don't do anything with any vegetables. It's just water, the bone, salt, sea salt, and pepper.
Right.
Yeah, it's a very interesting dynamic. But now that I know more about vegetables, I actually wouldn't mind putting some onions and garlic in there.
Yeah, I plan on making some of this in. I plan on putting some, as per the recommendations, carrots, onions, and a little bit of garlic. I was gonna add that tonight, um, and then I was gonna make some like grass-fed meatballs and add that to it as well.
Nice. Well, you have a beef stock, so you can do a bunch of stuff now.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and I suggest people do it. Obviously, research the kind you want to do it, how you want to do it. Um, but you never know when you hit the something that really clicks with your body. This could be something that, oh wow, I really need this, and it clicks with your body. Um, but it's definitely an extreme thing. I don't know. Again, just like our topic, what we're going to talk about. You never thought you'd be eating poop, right? But now it's possible in the future. You never thought you'd be. I never thought I'd be bone marrow. It sounds gross and like prehistoric and third world, and now it's like a craze, you know. And in fact, I guarantee you there'll be bone broth trucks once it's in the future. You know, I sent you that article saying what do millennials spend their money on? They spend their money on organic food, all this high quality stuff. And they're the type of people that will buy the butter in their coffee. They're the type of people that will buy bone broth because it's hip and it's trendy and it has this data backed up, you know?
Yeah, I read that article, by the way.
Yeah, that was a good article. We'll talk about that on future podcasts. I just wanted to bring it up because it's relevant, you know? Like, I don't know if they're jaded by, they're like, I don't know. We'll talk about it on another podcast probably in 2 weeks or so. But it's an interesting theory because it leads us to the topic of where, like, okay, if you would have told me 5 years ago that I'd be having bone broth, well, maybe 5 years I would have believed you, but 8 years ago I would have been like, you're crazy, dude. Where's my double, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I want something that doesn't have any meat on it or, you know, anything. Like the fact that I look for the meat with the fat on the meat. Before, when I was a kid, I hated fat. I would cut it off and I wanted only a lean piece of meat. It's ridiculous now that I eat gristle upon gristle of fat because I know that's what the good stuff is. So it's a very interesting world we live in and how things change and, you know, it's not, you know, I think probiotics, because that's what we're going to want to talk about today, I think probiotics are very, even the industry that makes them, it's not like they can give you this concrete thing, you know, they just come up and say, well, eat yogurt, bacteria, blah, 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 you know, there's nothing that's out there saying this is the best, you need this because of this, you need this because of this. The marketing is very much shrouded in mystery, and I wonder if they do it on purpose because, again, like we've talked about, you can't really get into the gut and like find out what's going on. You can get to the poop and find out what's wrong, but that seems very, no pun intended, it seems very one-sided, you know?
Yeah, you know, I've thought a lot about this since you and I first brought up this topic about a week ago, and I don't know. I kind of trailed off, admittedly, at the last part of what you said because the one thing you said about probiotics and kind of how weird the manufacturing is that, like, you always have to remember, like, the thing that's crazy to me with probiotics is that, you know, it's really tough to know the integrity of them, that because there's no regulation. And I'm not saying the FDA is a perfect body that if they were regulating probiotics that everything would be, you know.
Well, why do some have to be refrigerated and some not? And then you ask anybody, if I went on the street, ask anybody in your office tomorrow if they take a probiotic. I bet you half of them don't. And then the other half that do cannot tell you any reason why. And then I guarantee you about half of those people, oh, I have yogurt every day, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I get that one a lot. That's the one I get a lot, especially from people you train too, clients. They tell you,
I'd be a millionaire for every girl that told me, what do you have for breakfast? Yogurt. Oh, you really? You have 110 calories in the morning of sugar and dairy? That's awesome.
Yeah, but what I was getting at though is that because it's not regulated and there's no governing body, you know, you can make a claim like, you know, this doesn't have to be refrigerated because maybe it doesn't. Who knows? Maybe they derive their probiotic from some process that doesn't require it. I know, like Garden of Life, for instance.
Listen to the podcast. The Garden of Life guy was on Bulletproof, and this made sense to me. Is like they both agreed that you want soil-based probiotics, and his is soil-based, and hence you don't need to refrigerate them.
Right. Whereas, you know, you have other ones that might be created by some fermentation process, which you essentially,
or a lab, yeah.
Yeah, or you would need to put them in the fridge. You know, it would just be nice to know. And, you know, I even think about this by extension with kombucha, because I don't know if the FDA regulates that. I think they do because it's.
I don't know. That's interesting.
I don't know.
I don't think so, dude.
Maybe they don't. But that's yeah. I started drinking less of them recently only because number one, I mean, I take a probiotic, I eat a lot of pickles, and I feel like that covers it. I love kombucha though, but lately I've just kind of been getting it in my head like, I wonder if this is being regulated and like what your fermentation process is like. What's the integrity? Is it refrigerated the entire time it travels? Was there some truck sitting outside a Safeway like for an hour because he couldn't get in? And
I bet you it's a lot like beer. They treat it like beer because it does have alcohol in it, and a beer has like fermentation and all that stuff. So I bet you that that's their loophole to sell it as like a consumer beverage.
right, right.
So I don't know. I find the ones that I used to like, the GTs, were just had too much sugar for me.
Yeah, they when you start to have some of the competitors to GT, you wouldn't think that anymore. The ones that have come out since GT are so sweet, and you look at the label and there's 10 grams of sugar. There's a lot. There's a one that's made in Brooklyn that's really sweet. I remember someone gave it to me. It was like freshly brewed. It was with some bigger company, local company. And I had it, and I was like, "Oh wow, that's really good." And I said, "It's way too good to have no sugar in it, though." And sure enough, I look at the label, and it's like 12 grams, and I was like, "Yeah, there you go. It's like soda." Um,
I think a good you said it, like a good mix would be take your soil-based probiotic and then still have your fermentation. Still
yeah,
have pickles or your slaw. What am I looking for?
you
What's the
looking for
stuff on kraut? Sauerkraut.
sauerkraut, kimchi,
Yeah, make,
pickle.
make sure you have that stuff because it matters. And I think in terms of the future of probiotics, I think obviously it's going to be highly individualized. And it's going to be interesting because I see, like, let's say your generation starts having kids. Your generation has a lot of autism. Your generation has a lot of pre-existing, like, latent issues that are just waiting to hit when they're like 40.
Right.
So I'm wondering how that's going to play out for their kids, because we're just on the crust of, like, okay, wow, stomach gut bacteria really is starting to really matter, but it's almost catastrophe meets education. Like, where's that breaking point going to be when we finally figure out what's causing autism, or what's causing um, allergies, what's causing this? We're finally at that point where we're going to find out, but if it might be, how big is that gap? And is it fixable? So let's say it is custom designed probiotics, which it said, which are going to be based off healthy people's poops, But
Right.
I don't really know, because I don't know anybody who puts that much time and effort into what they eat. So does that mean they just inherited these strong, really strong, awesome bugs in their stomach? And by bugs I mean good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the million-dollar question. That's what you and I always talk about, and we only can theorize. I think that I don't know. It really is amazing because you see a lot of people who, like you
Yeah, and
said, they might have been born with these strong bugs in their stomach, and they don't treat their bodies well at all.
did you ever watch Stargate,
No,
the TV show or the
no, I never
movie?
did. But I know what it is. I'm familiar.
Yeah, basically they're people that have these alien-like snakes that are in their guts.
Hmm.
Those are the alien people, and it just always reminds me of that. It's like, I bet you we're like some alien breed, and then something happened, and the bugs took over, and then they needed somebody to operate, so they chose us. But then we
Right.
gained free will. This is like all very Rogan. It's all very Roganish. This is all very
Yeah.
Trussell and Rogan.
The bugs, man.
They're smarter than us, but we got free will through some accident, or
Yeah,
we ate
yeah, exactly.
we started eating some food that we weren't supposed to, and it gave us like a mind of our own, and that, I don't know.
The Masons, they control us.
That's
But
why mushrooms is the only way to correct it.
yes, exactly.
DMT.
Well, the crazy thing though uh, is how little we know about all this stuff though, and that's why I think that at the very least, like I just hope that no one stalls any research through any kind of weird means, and then based on the research we can do over the next 10 years, because realistically, it's probably going to take at least 10 years to get anything like mildly meaningful. Um,
But if you think about it,
yeah.
if big pharma, they don't want us to find good probiotics.
No, not unless they make them.
Yeah, well, why would they want us to have no allergies? Why would they want us to have no little sicknesses? Why would they want us to have no cancer? Like, that would just destroy them if we found a way around it. So maybe I wonder if that's what keeps probiotics down. Is like Because nobody ever really says, hey, this is just hoodoo. They just never say, like, this is legitimate, you know?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of on the fringes. You probably have to have a doctor that is really into
It's on the fringes, but it's okay to put in yogurt. Like, I agree with you 100%, but it's such a weird thing where, like, even the manufacturers are like, look, we're going to create this sexy ass probiotic and we're going to sell the shit out of it.
right.
Like, who's ever done that, It's so weird. Like, I don't know, to me, it's such an essential thing. It's something I've taken for the last 5 years every day.
Yeah, and it's made a huge difference for so many
And,
people.
and I had to search hard to try to find out what's a good one.
Right,
I
right.
can't imagine the average person just there. I don't know. Maybe we need to create a company of like super probiotics because this is insane how most people don't take one, and most people look at you funny when you try to take one, and you're like, hey, dude, you need to take one of these. They're like, yeah, yeah, and they don't. It should be a vitamin, like a vitamin that you take every day, along with D3, water. Very interesting. Just be careful with the higher powered ones. I made the mistake of doing the higher power ones, and supposedly those are very intense. But you get misinformation on the internet.
Right. I mean, and usually the most that's going to happen with a lot of these is it's just going to upset your stomach and you're going to have the shits for a while, you know?
I took two by mistake one day. I forgot that I took it, and then I took one 5 minutes later, and then I basically had diarrhea which tells me that it's working. To be honest with you,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I took that extra super high strength one for the over a year every day.
and nothing happened. I did. I used to do that one too all the time, and then I read like, yeah, you shouldn't do the high dose ones because it's too powerful.
Well, I needed it at first. I'll tell you that much. That the high dose one was essential at first, whereas once I knew that I didn't really need that anymore, I did notice a huge difference in how I felt when I went to a lower strength one.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, no, I mean I had a huge increase in vitality and overall feelings of just keeping my stomach healthy, immediately from taking the powerful one. And then I would say that maybe about 4 or 5 months in, I probably didn't need it anymore. I probably needed to go down in strength, but I didn't. And then once I finally did, I noticed, bowel movements normalizing again, just feeling better, lack of bloating, like all these types of things.
Because they say when you first take it from the GAPS book, when you first start taking it, the bad stuff in there, the bad bugs in there, they start dying off, and as a last gasp, they release all their toxins. So it's pretty intense when you first start taking. It's possible that it's pretty intense when you first start taking a probiotic that you feel worse, and that's where people usually quit and say, "Oh, it's not working for me." So they get the runs, and then their body's like, "Oh, I can't take it," and then so they quit. But that's really the fact that it's working. It's just killing off all that bad stuff, and as that bad stuff dies off, it's like a suicide bomber. It's like, all right, I'm gonna release all my toxins into your system.
Right. See, the reason I knew that it was too powerful for me is because I would have like bowel movements that were way too loose for too long of a period. Like it was starting to be like a month of it, and I was like, yeah, that's not normal, and I was fine otherwise.
So it was upsetting something in your intestinal tract. Yeah, I suggest everybody buy that Gut and Psychology Syndrome book. It's a thick book, but I swear you'll learn so much about your gut that you'll be like, wow, I just totally understand. Like it's basically a garden. I have a garden in my stomach, and I need to water it, feed it, make sure it's good, and we don't eat anything near what we need to eat to take care of it. We pretty much
Right.
load on the other side. So it's very, very interesting. Like you and I read articles about this. I found those articles were cool, but I think they were a little bit sensational sensational in the fact that we're going to be eating poop, and these two guys watched their poop for a year. Like it was very extreme and using something that's very kind of considered gross and like taboo that we're going to be doing this in the future. But
What Freud's talking about was these guys who studied their poop every day for a year, and then a separate set of people who were taking a probiotic injection via their nose, I think, of other people's healthy feces.
yeah. Well, there's a no fecal transplant. You can either do it butt to butt, which people do illegally, not illegally, on their own. Do it yourself,
Right.
And then there's the way that this one study did it, where they do it through the nose into the intestines.
Right.
And obviously, great success abound. You know, like some people were just crippled, and then all of a sudden they did the transplant, and it got better.
My question to that, and the article never asks it, is why other people's poop? They couldn't have tried other probiotics first.
That's the part I don't get. That's why I don't get. It's like, why would you put it in the colon to do it? I've done an enema. I told you I did a probiotic enema, and I felt great the next day. Basically, you know, basic enema, but I put the probiotic in there and in the water, and I shoved it up in there, and it felt good. It felt really good. I actually had no back stiffness the next day. It was a very weird thing. Again, even Paul Chek says you have back pain, first get a colonic and then see if that helps. I know it sounds weird, but all those nerves are tied into that area anyways, your colon. So
Right.
he had this one Canadian athlete that could not get over back pain. They did every single thing muscular, every single thing, and then he told the guy to get a colonic, and that was the only thing that worked.
Yeah.
So the body's a weird thing, but again, you just have this garden inside of you that you gotta water, feed, take care of. You know, it's nothing different. And now I know I've been drinking water religiously, and I totally tell when I don't. You know, when I don't. The only thing that stops you from drinking a lot of water is pee. Oh, I have to pee all the time. But you know what? It takes a minute to go pee. You know.
Right. And
And,
what
and you're actually getting up from the desk and walking to the bathroom and walking back. You know.
yeah, I never understand that, people who say that. Like, oh, I have to pee all the time. It's like, well, I think that's probably pretty healthy, and your chances of peeing too much and drinking too much water are very low, you know?
Yeah, it's a weird. It's these things that we don't want to change our habits and all that stuff. But
Habits are very hard to break.
as soon as you do, like you said, I don't want the poop water in there. I love seeing clear. You know, when I go out, when I pee, I like seeing it clear, and I'm done. You know, I don't have to worry about anything. You know, I literally pound. I wake up, I go in, and I pound that Avion first thing. I have it in my locker, ready to go. 2 for $3, Dwayne Reed.
You still got that sale?
No, they brought it back. It was two small ones for 99 cents. It was bad. I had to wait. So this month is gonna be a good one.
Oh, wow. I didn't know they had this sale going on again.
It's not the size you like though.
Yeah, not the biggins.
It's the medium ones. So not the tiny, not the little ones, not the medium, the ones above that, but not the big ones.
Yeah, I like the 1.5 liters.
Yeah, that's good for 6 to 3. That would cover me for 6 to 3.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
just
mean, I drink 2 of those a day. I minimum. I have to drink 3 liters minimum
wow, that's good.
to feel good. And today I'm probably on 5 and something. I mean, this is a 1.5 Poland Spring. I've filled it up 2.5 times now. So
Hey, dude, you gangster.
yeah, man. But that was how I knew too. Also that some stuff was afoul in my digestive system is because my urine was like not normal. In other words,
Wow.
So that was interesting. But as far as like getting on topic of the future of probiotics, though, I would really like to see people. I think there's a lot of money and time and power going into research now. Uh, I would love to see that continue, and I would love, the part that gets tough is that I think it needs to be under the direction of something. Some people might disagree with me, but the fact that they're not regulated just seems really strange to me. Like whereas aspirin and Advil are, and
I
probiotics
wouldn't want
aren't.
them to go into the FDA only because I think then Big Pharma would have a lot more control. I kind of like that it's in the vitamin shop or GNC, you know.
Right. Well, then we need a.
But I think
Maybe you and I need to create this, but we need to get someone to independently investigate them because I don't like taking a company's word for it.
yeah, I agree. That's where I was like, we need somebody to say, here's the no bullshit on this. We know we need it, but why isn't everybody taking it? And why is it kind of on the fringes? And why is there no healthy education about it? You know?
Yeah, I would love to see, and maybe it needs to be us, like a writer or a blogger become like the authority on it, who gets pulled into the process of these companies. These companies want this person's seal of approval, and so they show them the process, and it's someone who understands the science and can tell you this is good, this
I don't
isn't.
know. I even from that one Reddit we talked about, that lady that talks about the microbiome, it just seems like they know a lot, but they don't know a lot. It's
I
almost
don't
like
think
that
they
one
know
video
much at all.
where how did, the one we saw about the guy fasting, fast, eat fast, and the one we talked about the different types of weight loss and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It just seems to be one of those things that's in the ether that nobody can confirm or deny, and it sounds like you're talking crazy talk if you say, hey, everything comes from the gut. Like what? Like it's just one of those things that nobody's proud enough to say, you know what, this really matters. And I really like the walls and the gaps, but they're fringe books. They're very fringy books.
Yeah, definitely.
And these people are, I don't know, it's going to be interesting. I never saw any results in anything until I started toying with my food more, you know? And what I mean is I'm not talking about just having bigger muscles. I'm talking about like energy, vitality, um, elimination. Like I never saw any big differences until and I'm talking about differences across the whole spectrum until I started switching to more of these type of diets where it's like take care of your gut, leaky gut, reduce inflammation. I got little here and there, but I never got like, wow, I can feel my rib cage, I can feel my six pack, I can feel I'm not tired, I don't need coffee,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's where the kind of proof is in the pudding. And also, a lot of these books right now, why you would even call them fringe is just because they're anecdotal, they might be
Yeah,
legitimate doctors and whatnot that came up with them, but they just haven't been studied. And it doesn't mean they shouldn't be studied, it just means they haven't been. And
I agree.
like watch them do a large scale GAPS diet on in a legit study and see results. Then all of a sudden it's not anecdotal anymore.
Yeah, I think it's weird. And I really think everybody should read that book if you want to learn more about your gut and psychology syndrome. It's a good book, Amazon. I think people will learn if you want to learn about one half of what Mark and I are talking about. You will walk away from the book, regardless of whether you believe her premise. You will walk away understanding a lot more just based on knowledge about the gut, and then you'll be like, okay, I cannot knowingly just eat pizza and this and that, knowing that it fuels the bad stuff without putting any of the good stuff in.
Yeah. And what a shame too.
It's just like I said. The reason why it's a shame is like you said. It's fringy. It's like what? Take care of your gut. What? No bread. No this. No that. It's very.
Yeah, that's what's so crazy. You know what? The only thing, and this might be a part two for another podcast because this is something we can talk about at length. But I always wonder with a lot of these diets, and it's something they don't quite answer, but they almost want you to sort of rely on logic. Is that you do all these things to heal your gut. You do these things that make you feel good. You eat these things, and the idea is that every now and then in a treat type of fashion, like you could have bread, or some of these diets even say like even the GAPS diet says that like at a later stage, but not that much later, they're telling you can have toast with breakfast or something, or bread.
Gaps. The reason why I like the gaps better than I like the walls, but I like the gaps because the gaps tells you, hey, you have a leaky gut. Okay, you can fix it. It's gonna take a year or two to seal it, like you're doing a bathtub. She tells you have to do this. You start off with this, and then you go to this, and this is about a 2-year process where you're gonna seal it and you're gonna get a healthy gut, and I've experienced this. You can handle the other stuff.
Yeah, but that's the thing is that if you make these things a regular part of your diet, then that's inherently, from our naive understanding of things, changing the flora content of your stomach again. So I don't think you could sustain, even after you were to heal yourself, any kind of diet that regularly had certain allergens in it.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, that would be a treat in quotations. Like now, okay, because the walls has put me on another level. Like I totally see a little bit more based on just all I did was add red bell pepper, a little bit more vegetables, and so now my cheats are even worse. Like I told you, like I feel like when I cheat, I'm hungover the next day. And what's a hangover? It's just inflammation. So literally, I feel a little hungover the next day just from having pizza the night before.
Right, right.
So that's how I know the walls took me to another level. I'm like, okay, I'm on a little bit of a different level now because I thought I've reached clean, and now no, now I'm at super clean. Um, So
Not
it's
with those burgers I see you eat.
I know, right? But see, I can handle those burgers better without with having a stronger gut now.
Yeah. See, the thing is I always wonder that if even having it once or twice a week, I still think that it's significant enough that it could change the flora in your stomach. That I'm not
Ooh.
convinced what these people claim that like I think you almost have to eat like this forever. I really do.
Dude, Asprey said if you can clean your gut up, and then it's proven that you'll have even having one piece of gluten will be in your system for 6 months.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is that like if what he's saying is true, it kind of goes along with
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting dynamic or different understanding. But that's the least of the problems. Get clean first, and then go from there.
yeah, it's true. And there's a lot of delicious foods you can have along the way. Getting clean too, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that'll be another part. So we can continue that conversation later. Um, but this was an interesting one because either we're going to be eating poop in the future, or you know everybody's going to be on a probiotic through their iWatch, something like that.
Yeah, it's a iWatch. It has a little needle in it, and it dispenses it into you every 3 hours.
Yeah,
That would be
yeah.
cool. What was that?
Tell them to hit us up with the probiotics they take. We'll research it for you.
Yeah, if you're on one or you think you might want to be on one, you already know we recommend it. But like Froy said, we'll do some research for you. We'll ask some questions to some people and can do a report on it for you.
I
And
found a new one that's I have a dietitian friend who Claire Labs, Klaire Labs, and they're very high end. Like you have to be in the business to get these.
interesting. So you can't just order it on Amazon.
No, these are like you have to know somebody who's licensed to get. These are basically what doctors and dietitians recommend.
Interesting, because I'm on Amazon and they have all types of things by Claire Labs right
Oh,
now.
really? Oh, wow. Okay, maybe not. Do
It
they have
says the
Klaire?
yeah there's a Therabiotic Complete 120 VCAPs.
There
I
you
don't know.
go. That's probably it. Maybe she was lying.
25 plus billion CFUs multi-species probiotic supplement. It comes in at a whopping $68.
Yeah, and then she says it's frozen, so they have to. It comes to you in dry ice or something.
It says it can be without refrigeration for up to 1 week for minimal drop in potency.
So she must have another one. I have to ask her because I'll tell her I saw them on Amazon. But yeah,
Yeah, it says you're supposed to refrigerate though. It just
hmm,
says that if you were to keep it out
interesting, interesting.
up to a
Well,
week.
let
Yeah,
us
man,
know.
this is what I mean. There needs to be a watchdog on these things. These things are too, like you said, there's too much promise and there's too much potential power in these things to be.
That's what it is. You just hit it on the net. You just hit it on the head. There's too much potential here to not have any form of focus.
Yeah,
And I feel like it's all over the place. Like, oh, here's this one. Check this one out. Oh, what about this one? This one needs to be refrigerated. This one doesn't. There's no. This is important. This is way more important than Gatorade. And there's like 75 different flavors of Gatorade, and everybody does Gatorade. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like this
Freud,
is
they're going to introduce a 76th flavor. This is serious business.
no, but I mean this is the weirdest. Not even that. It's more like 5-hour energy. Like this is the precursor to food. Good gut bacteria, and we're just like, it is what it is.
Right.
So I don't know, but yeah, definitely let us know what probiotics you take. We're taking a poll.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be interesting to see what people say.
I take Primal Defense Ultra Garden of Life.
Yeah, that's what I've switched to. I just take one a day, and that seems to do it for me.
Yeah, yeah, one a day, and then but I also have my these pickles.
Oh, yeah, bubbies or boobies, or how do you say that?
Bubbies or boobies?
I
Bubbies.
like bubbies quite a bit, but they're very sweet. That means that there's some sugar in there.
I don't know. I don't find it to be too sweet. There is sugar in there, but I don't find it to be sweet. Maybe
I mean, hey, they're delicious. I buy them too.
to me
But
they're more salty. Hmm.
maybe you have a sweet variety, or maybe I have a sweet variety. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, interesting. Yeah, no, they're delicious. But anyway, keep up with that stuff, people. You can find us as usual on iTunes and Stitcher. Stitcher tweeted us today. They said listen to Functional Meatheads. That was cool.
Yeah, I saw that. That's weird, right?
Yeah, except for my typo in the title.
Oh
Um,
Jesus.
yeah, yeah, I fixed it after I noticed it on Stitcher. Um, then yeah, iTunes, Stitcher, Functional Meatheads, functionalmeatheads.com. You can email us to functionalmeatheads@gmail.com. But until then, oh yeah, you could talk to Froy at @funmeatheads on Twitter.
Yeah, tweet us. We want to know what kind of probiotics you're taking because we're taking a poll and we want to. Maybe we'll write that company. Maybe we'll get those people on and talk to them.
Yeah, that would be. Oh, excuse my yawn. That would be the ideal one. Maybe we should. Let's invite the Garden of Life guy on. See if we can get him on.
All right, hit us up, people. Mark needs to get his sleep, beauty sleep.
Beauty sleep. Nah, my healing sleep.
All right, people, hit us up.
All right, take care, everyone. Why not brush your hair?
Watch regular show.
There you go. Good night, everyone.